This is the next video in the Historic Ordnance series. What you are looking at is a Chicom or Chinese made Type 69 bounding fragmentation mine. Now, for those of you that aren't aware of this, there is not a ton of info out there on Chinese mines, and it's always a pain to scrape together information for videos involving Chinese ordnance. That's why there's so few of them. Now, we can go by the designation Type-69 that this was probably accepted into inventory in the People's Liberation Army in 1969. The U.S. Army reports that large quantities were not accepted into the Chinese inventory until the early 1970s. These were encountered in Vietnam starting in 1969 in small numbers and then increased in encounters after that. This mine reportedly has been discovered or is noted to be used by up to 14 countries. Some of the countries that employ this mine or where they have been located: Cambodia, Afghanistan, Iraq, Somalia, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Sudan, Uganda, Thailand, Vietnam, and North Korea has these in their inventory also. Now, some of the technicals on this. This mine is, according to U.S. military sources and also Russian military, it is essentially a crude copy of the old Soviet OZM-3, OZM-4 bounding fragmentation mines. The height is 4.5 inches on the body. When you add the fuse on top, it brings it up to 6 2/3 inches. Diameter is 2.5 inches. This makes it extremely small when compared to other bounding fragmentation mines. A lot of sources say that generally for size, it's about the size of a soda can, for you to do a comparison in your mind on how big this is. Weight is 3 pounds, of which only 4 ounces is the explosive filler, and the explosive filler is TNT. Color is OD green. Mine body is metal. Markings are in black on the side here. Reportedly, there is a licensed Iranian copy that has been encountered in the Middle East. That mine is supposed to be brown in color. So maybe that's a way to tell the difference between the two. If you come across ones that are brown in color, it's Iranian. If it's green, it's Chinese. These mines can be set off in 2 different ways, either by pull on tripwire or pressure. Both means of initiation are done with the exact same fuse. This is referred to as a Type-69 combination fuse, and this is the only mine that this fuse is used on. Now, to initiate it with tripwire, it takes 3 to 9 pounds to pull the pin to set off the fuse. For pressure, it takes 15.5 to 44 pounds of downward pressure to set off the fuse. The average length of tripwire or maximum length of tripwire noted is 10 meters. Bursting height for this mine is 1.5 meters above ground. So you're looking at about chest height, abdomen height on this one. So that's a little bit higher than what we've seen with other communist countries, and it's still lower than Western countries where theirs typically detonate around 6 to 6.5 feet. This goes off around 4 to 4.5 feet above the ground. The kill radius is 15 meters. Wound radius is 50 meters. but you can still catch a piece of shrapnel up to 100 meters away from the mine. Now, it has been noted by deminers that it is very common to find these mines not employing the Type-69 fuse, but to come across them using Russian or old Soviet MUV series fuses. Both will work, similar thread pattern, similar diameter. Now, installation instructions. I did get instructions from U.S. Special Forces from one of their manuals on this, but it seemed like there was some information that may have been missing from it, a step that they may have missed. So I started looking through Russian sources. Couldn't find a lot better information there because translation did not work all that great. But between the two of those, this is what I've been able to come up with for the steps for installing the Type-69 Bowding fragmentation mine. First off, you will inspect the mine, the fuse, and the detonator. If any component is unserviceable, cannot be used, swap it out. If it's the mine that itself is damaged, the question is, how damaged is it? Will it interfere with operation? If it will not interfere with operation, it says continue with installation in Special Forces manuals. Go to the area where the mine's going to be in place. Prep the area. Dig a hole in the ground up to the top of the mine here. So a little bit above the shipping plug in the center here, or the central plug as it's referred to in some sources. You will then go through, prep the mine. You will open up the central plug here, which I have some good pictures down here of it. This central plug is extremely long. Remove the central plug from the center here, and you will insert the detonator. The detonator is just a regular blasting cap. When you slide the blasting cap in there, open and down. Same as on the OZM3 and OZM4. You will then put the plug back in place, which will push the detonator down in there a little bit farther to get it to seat in the correct location. At that point, you will remove the shipping cap from over the outside, or the side mounting spigot is one of the things I've heard it referred to. This is the location where the fuse itself is going to go. Remove the shipping cap and then prep your fuse. You do not need to add a separate blasting cap to the bottom of this fuse because reportedly the detonator and the blasting cap are already in here. What you're just doing is installing the firing device over the top to set that off. You will then screw on the Type-69 combination fuse, and then you will set the mine down into the hole. At that point, you're going to cover up the top of the mine. You're then going to go out to up to 10 meters away across the trail, the roadway, wherever this is going. You're going to find yourself an anchor, or you're going to put it in the ground. You're going to find yourself a stake, a fence post, side of a vehicle, whatever it is. Tie off the tripwire to that location. Run it back to the mine. Now, here is some conflicting info when it comes to U.S. military manuals and the Russian manuals. And this took a lot of investigating to figure this out. There are 2 pins apparently on the fuse here. Pin on top, which is the safety pin, and another pin which you can barely see is right here, right over the top of the plastic. There's a little notch here. It looks like there's a pin coming through. I found one drawing which backs this up that there is a second pin. This D-shaped pin is this one here. And down below it we have a split pin, which looks like a cotter pin, which goes through here. you are going to attach the tripwire to the end of this cotter pin, the lowermost pin. You're going to tie it in there. Make sure that it will be able to pull the pin out. You're not going to tug on the pin now, but you're just going to make sure that it's secured on there enough that it's not going to just break off or come loose. At that point, you're going to go through, remove the safety pin, which has this little white lanyard attached to it. You're going to remove that. At that point, the mine is armed. Go through and camouflage the location. Now for removal, what you're going to do, you're going to come in, you're going to check around the area, make sure there's no other mines or booby traps around it. You're going to locate the mine, you're going to locate the tripwire. Follow along the tripwire, make sure there's no mines hidden underneath the tripwire across the area that's being covered. Move down to the end where the anchor is. You're going to double check that it has not been tied to another mine or booby trap at the other end. If it's clear down on that end, go back to the mine. You will then reinsert the safety pin into the uppermost hole. That will safe the mine. You will then go through and clip the tripwire from what's referred to as the combat pin, the lower of the pins. Go through, check around the mine itself, make sure that there is no other anti-handling devices or mines co-located with the mine. If there is, destroyed in place. If none are located, you will remove the mine from the hole, and once it is outside the hole, you will unscrew the Type-69 combination fuse, reinstall the shipping cap. You will then open up the center plug, turn the mine to the side, turn it over a little bit, kind of tap that detonator out of there, and then reinstall the center plug, and the mine is ready for turn-in for later reuse. Now for putting this into operation for pressure, this one was really tough to try to figure out. You're going to go through, same with inspection, same with prepping, but when you're digging the hole, you want it to go up to about here, the shoulder of the combination fuse, maybe a little bit past, but not by much. You want some of this rubber cap sticking up out of the soil. You're going to go through, you're going to install the detonator in the central plug. You will then install the Type-69 combination fuse over the side spigot. You install the fuse on there, take it over to the hole. You're going to put the mine down into the hole, and you're going to backfill the dirt up to here, almost all the way up. You're going to leave a little bit to add after you arm it. Now what you're going to do to arm the mine, you're going to remove the safety pin that has the lanyard attached. You're then going to camouflage the area. Now from what I was able to piece together, and this was tough, it took getting information from Russian and US Army sources. The combat pin here, the split cotter pin, how that is in there, it goes right around the outside of the striker inside the body here. It holds it in place, kind of clamps it in there. But when pressure is applied to the top here on this rubberized cap, what will happen, that will push the striker down until it slips through between the legs of that combat pin or that cotter pin. At that point, that's when it's going to activate the primer, setting off first the expelling charge, and then that detonator in the center will go off, setting off the main charge. It took a while to find the information on that as to how it worked and what exactly was the procedure for installation. It wasn't very clear in the U.S. Special Forces manual or the information I was able to get from Russian sappers from their websites. For removal of the mine when it is in pressure mode, same as it is with any mine, go through, check around the area where the mine is supposed to be located, look for protective mines and booby traps around it. If none are located, then you're going to locate the mine itself. There is a little bit of metal here from the cotter pin, so it should show up in a metal detector. Once you've located the fuse, then you're going to install the transport or the safety pin here into the hole. If you cannot get the pin into the hole, try twisting the rubber cap a little bit until the holes line up and you can get the pin to go through. Depending on how long the mine has been in the ground, there could be soil in there which may interfere. After you get the safety pin back in there, you will then dig down and then around the mine checking for anti-handling devices. If any are encountered, destroy the mine in place right after it's encountered. If none are found, you will then gently remove the mine out of the hole. Once it is out of the hole, you will remove the Type-69 combination fuse, reinstall the shipping cap, open up the central plug, turn the mine to the side, maybe upside down just a little bit, tap that detonator out of there, and by tap I mean you had the mine in the hole here, like figure this is the mine here, and you're just palm on palm, not smacking the mine itself, just palm on palm to gently work that cap, that detonator out of the well of the mine. At that point you will go through, reinstall the central plug, turn everything back in. There you go. Was not easy, but I was able to piece together the information for you here on the Chinese Type-69 bounding fragmentation mine. These mines are really small in comparison to even an OZM-3, which is a really small bounding fragmentation mine. This is even smaller, but they're still pretty deadly. And as I said, a lot of deminers, when they do come across these mines, they're not encountering them with the Type-69 combination fuse. They're actually encountering them with Russian MUV series fuses in its place. Now there is also a note here that I came across from deminers. These mines don't have to get set off in this configuration also. The mines can be set in place to become, instead of a bounding fragmentation, they can be set up to become just a regular blast mine. And in that case, when they come across them, the shipping cap is still in place here on the side well, the side spigot. But in the center here, the center plug is removed, and that is where they find a fuse inserted in there. And that fuse will have a blasting cap on the end of it. It will not have a separate detonator blasting cap down in the bottom. The fuse will have the blasting cap connected to it, and it will be screwed into the center. And then when that fuse gets set off, the mine will not project itself out of the ground because it's bypassing the expelling charge. it's going to set off the main charge in the ground. So basically creating a volcano of shrapnel coming up out of the ground. It makes it far less effective because of the size of that mine. But if you're trying to control the damage that the mine is doing because of the sensitivity of the area, I could see that making sense. It is a really small amount of explosive in there, only 4 ounces, so it'll give off enough that it'll kill the person who sets it off. Maybe someone who's within, say, 5 meters of the mine. Past that, they're just going to be wounded. They'll be seriously wounded, but they'll just be wounded. So there you go. The Chinese Type-69 bounding fragmentation mine. They are pretty common across Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. Now, for all my engineer brothers and the Patriot and militia movements, always remember, essayons.